Guilty! Guilty!
Now at 6:30, former President Donald Trump guilty of 34 felony counts. We have reaction tonight of this historic verdict from our political analysts and voters.
I'm not seeing the positive trajectory that I demand in all of my departments.
King 5 sits down one-on-one with Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell after Adrian Diaz was removed as the city's police chief and a former King County sheriff took over.
You have to make tough decisions to get to a level of excellence.
And a Boeing whistleblower weighs in on the company's plan to fix its safety record and regain public trust.
I was hoping to see something much more specific and substantial, and I don't see that here.
Guilty on all counts in a historic verdict. Former President Donald Trump has been found guilty on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. Thanks for being with King 5 tonight. I'm Joyce Taylor.
I'm Greg Copeland. Trump is the first president in U.S. history to be convicted of a felony. We have team coverage for you tonight. Jim Nelson has reaction from voters, but let's begin with Steve Solis with reaction from our own political analyst. Steve.
Well, the consensus tonight from our political analyst, this is likely not going to have a major impact on the presidential election. According to former state attorney general Republican Ron McKenna, it's likely going to motivate his base. And former Commerce Secretary, the former Democratic governor of Washington, Gary Locke, he weighed in saying that if anything, voters in the swing states will be the ones to watch.
It'll definitely motivate his base. But it's not a good thing for him, obviously. It'll hurt his prospects overall.
I'm not sure that it's really going to affect the election that much. It may actually help his chances to raise money among his hardcore base. But among the undecideds and those who are concerned about the rule of law and the image and the example that a president sets for the rest of the country and for the future generations, I think it will hurt him in some of the key swing states.
That message is echoed in national polling. The mayor's poll found that 67% of registered voters said that a guilty verdict would not change their minds, and 76% said the same about a not guilty verdict. And just 7% said that a guilty verdict would make them less likely to vote for Trump in the presidential race. Greg.
Steve, thank you. Jim Nelson actually hearing from some voters in Seattle tonight. Jim, what were the feelings here?
Well, Greg, we found more people that agree with the verdict than those who don't. I talked to fans as they left the Mariners game. Given the crowd size, kind of a good opportunity to catch up with people on both sides of the political aisle. Keep in mind, all of this news came down as the game was happening. So there's this interesting juxtaposition of America's pastime, a day at the ballpark for thousands of fans when American history unfolds in the palm of their hands. It was around the fifth inning when the verdict came down. It didn't take long for news to travel. Some fans telling us they heard a buzz around them. Word slowly traveling throughout T-Mobile Park.
I was looking for a message from the person who's going to take us home, and I saw the flash of the news, and I said, Trump is guilty. And we all went.
I believe he will be he'll be out. I mean, he'll be fine. I mean, I think it's all political, in my opinion.
So obviously two very different opinions on the guilty verdict. The people I talked to say this news will not sway their vote come November. Live in Seattle, Jim Nelson, King 5 News.
And we have continuing coverage all evening. In less than 30 minutes, we'll be joined live by the state's Republican Party chair, Jim Walsh. His reaction to the verdict, his take on whether it's going to have an impact on Washington voters, specifically the governor's race. All of that ahead tonight at 7.
Until then, we have compiled everything we know tonight, as well as reaction from our local analysts. Just text the name Trump to 206-448-4545 for the latest.
The decision I made, I stand by it 100%.
To the latest now in a story King 5 has been tracking since the news broke late Tuesday night. You just heard from Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell amid a shakeup at the police department.
Adrian Diaz out as chief, and he has been reassigned to special assignments. Former King County Sheriff Sue Rahr coming out of retirement to take over as interim chief until a permanent chief is chosen. She does not plan to run for the permanent position.
She officially took over at 9 o'clock this morning. New tonight, King 5's Natalie Swaby sat down with the mayor to learn the latest on this shakeup at SPD. She reports from outside City Hall.
The mayor says the interim chief started the job at 9 a.m. I'm told discussions about a new role for Adrian Diaz are still underway. Today, the mayor is providing more details about why he made his decision.
Chief Aurora, her reputation is beyond reproach. She's a proven leader.
Mayor Bruce Harrell says that about his interim police chief, who's replacing Adrian Diaz. The department, moving in a new direction, is receiving strong reactions. The comments started coming in yesterday.
This is setting us back so far.
Right after the announcement was made that Diaz was out as chief and being reassigned to a new role.
Due process didn't happen. He has been made guilty.
A community leader and a city council member are raising the same concern.
I was shocked, saddened, and angered because I expected due process to play out.
The decision I made, I stand by it 100%.
The mayor says Diaz and the department are facing allegations of discrimination and sexism. Allegations Diaz denies.
Was that the thing that just made you realize that you needed to go in a different direction?
What you are seeing are multiple lawsuits, and you're seeing theming of gender discrimination, hostility. It wasn't one lawsuit or two lawsuits. It was, for me, the absence of the kind of trajectory of excellence that I want to see in this department. Most importantly, that department has to protect and serve people, not be a defendant in multiple lawsuits. And so I need a leader that's sort of free from that to be able to give me the excellence that I want to see. And I think we're going to have that in Chief Aurora.
What the interim chief is taking on is a department at its lowest staffing levels in 30 years. A report delivered at City Hall shows for the first quarter of 2024, the number of officers in service dropped below 1,000. The city's also on a mission to increase the number of women in all recruit classes to 30% by the year 2030. And now there's a national search for a new police chief.
I believe that there's a person out there that sees the challenge and they see the impediments to progress, but more importantly, they see the opportunity.
When it comes to staffing concerns, the mayor says the interim chief is an expert at recruiting, and he thinks she'll be able to help the department hire more officers. In Seattle, Natalie Swaby, King 5 News.
So where does the search for the next police chief go from here? Yesterday, the mayor said that he'd like to get the search done in the next 6 months. That was an estimate, of course. Today, we asked about the next official steps, and the mayor says it starts with the committee going through resumes. From there, the city will have its first pool of candidates, allowing the public to weigh in before that pool is narrowed down to the top candidates. We asked former King County Sheriff John Urquhart on King 5 Mornings about the mayor's timeline.
Well, the mayor says it's going to take, what, 4 to 6 months? Do you think that seems like not enough time?
Mimi, I'll come back in a year, and Stu Rohr will still be the interim chief. You mark my word.
Taking a look back now, Chief Adrian Diaz was interim chief for more than 2 years before he got the main job. Before that, Carmen Best was the interim chief, before she got the permanent job 6 months later. All of the recent chiefs, including Kathleen O'Toole, held the position for less than 4 years, which is shorter than the average tenure for a chief in a major city.
New tonight, we are hearing from a Seattle City Council member about the search for a new chief. Councilmember Joy Hollingsworth just finished a community safety meeting up on Capitol Hill.
King 5's Cornelius Hawker spoke with a council member and joins us live tonight. Cornelius?
Joyce, Greg, in light of the Seattle Police Chief's shakeup, Councilmember Joy Hollingsworth, who's in her first term, says she wants her district to know she's doing all she can about safety on the council side. Now, at tonight's meeting, business owners were able to talk to the council member and other staff members about the daily issues they deal with in regards to safety. One person did bring up the Seattle Police Chief search, and here's what Councilmember Hollingsworth said she's looking for in a new chief.
I think the reason why people loved Chief Diaz was because he was on the ground. He was, a chief that you could touch, you could connect with, you could shake his hand, he would talk to you. Someone similar like that, right? Someone who can be able to connect with our community, someone who is on the ground, boots on the ground, that is, accessible to people. Someone that also sees the importance of having alternative policing that will help the overall department as well to create safety in our neighborhoods.
I did ask Councilmember Hollingsworth about the allegations against former Chief Diaz. She had no comment. Live in Capitol Hill, Cornelius Hawker, King 5 News.
And an update now on a story that we first brought you yesterday about another member of the Seattle Police Department command staff, Deputy Chief Eric Barden. Multiple sources inside the police department told King 5 that he had cleaned out his desk as part of the SPD leadership shakeup. When asked about that during yesterday's press conference, the mayor did not answer. In today's one-on-one with Natalie Swaby, we asked again.
Can you confirm that Deputy Chief Eric Barden is still the deputy chief today, as of right now?
I believe he is the chief. I know today that Interim Chief Rohr is meeting with my Deputy Mayor Tim Burgess discussing that situation. And I don't know more about that. So I think today, which is Thursday, that he still is on regular duty. There is discussions about him possibly being on administrative leave, but I don't know where we are in those discussions, nor will I make that decision. That is a decision left up to the chief.
Late this afternoon, we confirmed Barden spent the day with the interim chief, continues to serve as the deputy chief, a position he's held for the past year.
So obviously still a lot to unpack in the coming days as we learn more about the impact from these moves at the department and on the community. For a link to all of our coverage, text SPD to 206-448-4545. We will send it right to your phone.
In regards to count 1 of the amended indictment, is Chad Guy Daybell not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan and grand theft by deception? Guilty.
After less than 6 hours of deliberations, a jury found Chad Daybell guilty of 9 crimes, including murder. Daybell has been convicted of murdering his first wife, Tammy Daybell, and 2 children of his current wife, J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan. Daybell faces the death penalty and will be sentenced tomorrow. His current wife, Lori Vallow Daybell, has already been sentenced to life in prison for the murders of her 2 children. She's appealing that conviction.
Boeing officials have revealed a new plan they say will improve aircraft safety. This comes nearly 5 months since a door plug blew off a commercial Boeing jet, terrifying passengers and promoting an entire revamp of the company's operating procedures. King 5 Sebastian Robertson joins us now with details and some reaction tonight. Sebastian.
Hi, Greg. Boeing officials today unveiled a roadmap as required by federal regulators to help convince the government and more broadly the flying public that changes are coming to a company that's been fraught with problems in recent years.
A hole in the side of this Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft in January of this year revealed problems company-wide that former Boeing employees say they've warned about for years.
My hope is that they put somebody at the top of the company that really wants to come in and overhaul the culture, overhaul the processes, and get everything back on track.
Joe Jacobson is a former Boeing employee and former FAA regulator. He feels the new safety and quality plan released by the aircraft manufacturer today lacks concrete steps.
It definitely falls short of what I was expecting. I was expecting a lot more specifics, and maybe those are yet to come, but my initial reaction is woefully inadequate, disappointing, showing once again that the leadership is not serious about fixing the company.
Boeing was given 3 months by FAA leadership to outline how it will move forward. The company says the new roadmap includes investments in workforce training, simplified plans and processes, work to eliminate defects, and that it will elevate a culture of safety and quality. Details are supposed to follow.
It looks to me like they're checking a box. I don't see anything substantial at all here, so it's disappointing to see that they don't seem to be serious.
Boeing is hardly out of the woods. The company still faces the possibility of criminal prosecution. Just next week, Department of Justice officials are set to meet with family members as part of an ongoing investigation into 2 fatal 737 MAX crashes that killed a total of 346 people. The families are expected to find out if Boeing will face criminal charges for the crashes.
The new safety roadmap was presented to FAA officials by Boeing senior leadership over the course of a 3-hour meeting that was this morning. In a statement, the FAA says this is only one of the measures taken. Other steps include federal regulators on site at the Boeing facilities across the country. This as the FAA works to make sure Boeing enacts, quote, corrective actions and effectively transforms their safety culture. Joyce?
Sebastian, thank you. New tonight, union firefighters at Boeing have approved a new contract with the plane maker. It comes after months of negotiations and a lockout earlier this month. Firefighters expect to be back on the job this Saturday. The union says the contract improves pay and allows firefighters to reach the top of the pay scale sooner.
It's terrible, it's horrific, and it's unimaginable.
Police are investigating what led to a crash that killed one man and sent 3 others to the hospital. This happened about 9:45 last night in Kent.
King 5's Connor Board has the details from where that crash happened.
Kent police say that a driver ran that red light behind me and then crashed into 2 cars last night. Now, the area where I'm standing used to have a utility pole, a tree, and 4 planters, but those all were destroyed in the crash. For 50 years, Neiman Glass has been on Central Avenue in Kent.
We're all family here.
But Franco Morales says this street can be dangerous.
We've actually had multiple cars come through our building because of the intersection and/or speeding.
The most recent time, 3 years ago, could have been deadly.
If anybody would have been in the office at the time, there's no doubt that they would have been killed.
And last night, his fears of fatalities on this street due to crashes was realized.
Somebody lost their life because somebody blew through a red light.
Franco saw the damage left over this morning.
Multiple car parts, and you could tell that it was a multi-car accident.
Kent police say a 23-year-old Spanaway man was the driver of a Tesla that ran the light and caused the 3-car crash. One of the cars that got hit was turning out of the jack-in-the-box and was pushed up against the side of Neiman Glass. The 24-year-old Kent man in that car died.
It's terrible, it's horrific, and it's unimaginable.
Franco says the speed of the car can be seen by the damage done. This is what was left of the 4 500-pound planters he had on the sidewalk. He put the planters up as protection for his business when he says the city wouldn't install barriers.
We've got red light cameras here, and it doesn't matter. You know, it's not making a difference as far as that's concerned. And, you know, unfortunately, last night was proof.
As Franco hopes for safety changes in the future, today his thoughts are on the man who died.
Unfortunately, you know, that tragic loss is fresh in our minds, and it's absolutely terrible.
Kent police said the driver of the Tesla was arrested on suspicion of vehicular homicide. They also requested a blood test to see if the driver was intoxicated. In Kent, Connor Board, King 5 News.
It's a high degree of frustration.
That frustration stemming from trash. Still ahead here on King 5, how Snohomish County is tackling the problem.
I'm Lionel Donovan in Tacoma. Coming up at 7, the Tacoma Urban League hosts its annual State of Black Tacoma event. I'll have more on what was said.
And we're following the local impact of the verdict out of Manhattan. Former President Donald Trump guilty on all 34 counts, felony counts of falsifying business records. Tonight, we're getting some local reaction.
We'll be joined live by the state's Republican Party Chair, Jim Walsh. He's here in our 7 o'clock half hour. We'll be right back.